In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what I wish I knew before I started my podcast. So it's been 6 years. I've done a lot of things wrong, but I've also done some things right. Okay, the number one thing that I wish I knew before I started, and this would have saved me so much emotional heartache, but it's to not wait to be asked to sit at the table, okay? Don't wait for somebody to share your video to make it viral. Don't depend on one guest to make everything kind of happen for you. The way that you're gonna even get to the table and be asked to sit down is ironically by building your own table. When you build your own and you ask people to come on your show, you create value first, people are way more likely to help you out in your time of need. So if you are waiting for some magical right time to get started, I can tell you 6 years later that it doesn't come. There's nobody that's gonna give you the A-OK to get going. Ultimately, you have to do that for yourself. The second thing that I wish I knew is that you're gonna mess up, okay? It's not gonna sound exactly how you want it to, especially early on. I know I had this vision of some of my favorite podcast hosts, and I wanted to sound smart, I wanted to sound suave, I wanted to sound smooth, but I didn't have the experience or the reps to be able to get there yet, right? I still had to get my bad reps out of the way. I had to chisel away at all of the fear to get to how Misbah actually sounded on the mic. So if you put in intentional reps and you keep showing up, you're bound to improve. So don't question at all when it's not going your way sometimes, because that happens. Just like you wake up some mornings and you feel happy, and you wake up some other mornings and you feel rushed, some other mornings you feel stressed. So each recording experience is going to be a little bit different. So when you're messing up, just be nice to yourself. Number 3, tech issues will happen. This is something, it's not if it will happen, it's when. Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared for a lot of the tech issues that came my way, and now I am because of the pain and embarrassment that I felt. If you're recording remote podcasts, the biggest tech issue that you can probably try to avoid is going to be internet. I remember my entire internet wiped out, and I had a very, very important guest that I was doing a remote podcast with. It was actually going to be a 4-person podcast. I had somebody over my house also to do this with me. It took so much time to schedule them, and it didn't end up actually working out because my internet never came back. And I don't know if that's something that could have been avoided, but something as simple as upgrading to the next tier of internet, or just preserving your bandwidth, or using a software like Riverside eliminates 92% of the issues you'll have remotely. Now, if you are doing in-person podcast episodes, tech issues are a little bit more prevalent. So you're just gonna have to be a little bit more prepared. What are some of the things that can actually go wrong? And then plan for that and maybe do a test run. A test run normally removes a huge layer of anxiety, whether it's remote podcasts or in person. So make a list of a couple tech issues that you're deathly afraid of that could happen. Then it becomes way easier to find a solution to troubleshoot that specific issue. Number 4, do not try anything new on game day. The same way when you are doing, let's say, a weightlifting competition, you don't just put on new shoes or eat something completely new the night before that you never have before leading up to the competition. You test that stuff out way in advance. And so on game day, it's a no-brainer. You're not having anxiety over these new lights that you just set up, or a new mic that might get disconnected at any point. Like, I remember I was in Australia doing an in-person podcast with one of the biggest fitness podcasts in Australia, and it was very embarrassing because none of my equipment was working, and I was trying this new software on my laptop to record our conversation, and it was the first time that I was doing it, and I was trying to do that while making conversation with him off air to just kind of keep things not awkward and build rapport and get to know him. Trying to set up tech stuff and talk is a lot in the first place, but now when you have new elements in the mix, such as software or equipment, and you're just figuring it out while you're in recording time, it can be a nightmare. So avoid that at all costs. Now, the 5th thing that I wish I knew was that distribution is key. You cannot grow without it. You're gonna show up and record the 1 podcast episode per week, but chances are, unless you're a really big figure, that's not gonna be enough. It's great to get started. It's great to get into a habit of creating, but if you want to grow to the next level, you're going to need distribution. Distribution is also about acquiring listeners outside of your existing base. So new people who haven't listened to your show before, getting them interested through clips, through quotes, through being a guest on other people's podcasts, getting them interested in coming back to listen to your episodes is basically what distribution is all about. The 6th thing that I wish I knew was that podcasting will help you grow on other platforms like Instagram and your email list and drive traffic to your website. So distribution is really important, but don't lose sight of the main thing, which is podcasting. If you want to grow and get more downloads and you want to get sponsorships and you want to excel within the platforms of Apple, Spotify, and all that good stuff, then yes, try to get your Instagram followers and anywhere where you have people to come over and listen to Apple or Spotify and all that good stuff. But I've heard this number thrown out by Sean Cannell of Think Media, where I think it's like 2 to 5%, maybe 10% if you're lucky, will actually transfer over. Let's say you have an Instagram, you ask people to go to TikTok. To make that jump, not everybody is going to follow and go with you. So it's just respecting that, hey, there are people who listen to podcasts who they don't want to go on Instagram. They love podcasts. They want to find more. They want to keep listening. And that's just how they consume media. So try to connect with those people. Now, number 7, I wish that I had started a video version of the podcast, but at the same time, I'm not so sure, because if I had started it back then, I probably would feel too much pressure, too much resistance to where I wouldn't show up and actually do the podcast as consistently. So my solution for you to avoid this, even if you don't want to do a video podcast, is to record the video version and just keep it in the archives. You don't even have to do anything with it, but I guarantee you a couple years down the line, you're gonna be so grateful that you have access to that footage, and you might wanna share it. Even though you might cringe at some of the older episodes, I know that I do, but some of my guests said evergreen, amazing stuff that is still getting downloads today, but I don't have a video version where I can get a minute of that and, show exactly what I want to show instead of just telling people about it. So if you record the video version, you will always have access to being able to do stuff. And to avoid the cringy part of it, I'll give you another tip. It's to record an updated clip of you going, hey, this is an episode I did back in 2016. It was with this guest and I want to share it with you. Enjoy the clip. And so you have a bit of an intro to the clip, and then people know, hey, okay, this is him 4 or 5 years ago. This is him now. So you make this clear distinction so it doesn't feel as embarrassing. But that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I wish I avoided. Maybe built up the confidence to just hit record, because it wasn't that much work to maybe do that. It is more work to produce it, to edit it, to do all of those things, but I have the skill set where I could do that now and I would really enjoy it. So that's something that I wish I had, and I hope that if you're in that spot that you will choose to do video and audio as well. So all of these mistakes that I've made, I've had to learn the hard way. It was a very painful process. It wasn't like I got to watch a video like this and I just learned, even though I should have, and I should have looked for that stuff back then, but I wanted to try it myself, and I had this ego and I wanted to see if, hey, is this gonna work? Is my way gonna work? And I did trade off some downloads and some results in that process. But the benefit of that is I get to tell you about what to avoid. It helped me grow future shows, and it helped me create so much free content to help start, grow, or monetize your podcast that I keep at podmahal.com. So I have a podcast promotion planner, a launch checklist, a content planner. Every problem that you are facing or about to face when starting a podcast, I have thought of before and or have been through it. So make sure you take advantage of some of my pain by heading over to podmahal.com. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe and check out some of these other videos, because I think you'll like them too.